Welcome to VJ SAP. Today we are going to discuss about a few topics in SAP basis administration. Last video, we were talking about history of SAP. If you missed the class, please follow my video so you can get those videos. Now today we are going to talk about a server. Before I start about this server, I need to talk about a client server architecture. What is client server architecture? Client always send a request to the server. Server always send response to the client. It's a cycle based communication. Client always send the request to the server. Server always send response to the client. How that will happen? Everyone are having a Facebook accounts or Gmail accounts and maybe internet bankings. People whoever is having a Facebook account or Gmails or internet bankings or some other internet based applications. Whenever you are sending a request from your browser, the moment you enter this facebook.com, you're sending a request to the Facebook server. Server will send back to the response. Server will send a response to the customer. So that's a client server architecture. So client always send a request to the server, server always send back a response to the client. Gmail, internet bankings, other applications, all internet based applications, intranet applications. So all these are a server, client server communication. Now let's come to the server here. So let's say when I say server in a layman language, a server is nothing but it's a computer. But we call it as a supercomputers, right? In our home or in our personal purpose, what we are doing is we might be buy some desktops, we might be buy some laptops where you have some 16 GB RAM or maybe 8 GB RAM, 256 GB hard disk, i4, i6, i7, i5, all these processors maybe you have it. When it comes to a server, companies always manage these servers. Companies always maintain, manage, buy. Some companies will take a rent of these servers, right? What exactly they will do with these servers? When I say server, right, you will be having a big setup. Inside that, you will be having too many racks. It's a storage, correct? And you will have a hard disk. It's a big hard disk. Let's say 100 terabyte. I'm just giving example. 100 terabytes or 5 terabyte or 10 terabyte, 20 terabyte RAM, and then you have a multiple processor, 100 processor, 200 processor, 300 processor. So we call it as a supercomputers. We call it a server. So generally, what will happen when we say server, all your core, your organization core application will be deployed on these computers. Okay, this is called a server, right? So when I say server, let's say I am paying a lot of money to buy the server, then how different departments or different people are trying to access that a particular application. Now let's say I have a HR department, I have a production department, I have a sales department, I have a logistics department, I have a finance department, I have a MM, so on and so forth, like this. Now if you see, I have a big server where I have a 30 terabyte RAM, 500 TB disk, and 500 cores, which is nothing but your processors. This my company bought it. Now HR is asking me to provide a 100 GB RAM, 50 GB hard disk, 4 cores computer. Same production, sales, Some other people are also asking information like this. Now VM 10 100 GB RAM, 500 GB disk, 8 cores. So what ultimately what you are doing is you have taken a big box of hardware and you are divided into multiple partitions, which is nothing but we call as a VMs, virtual machines. And whatever you have physically available, that you are logically assigning to the particular computers. So you are creating a partitions here, small partitions. And the first one, what you will do, you will assign to HR. Second one will be assigned to production. Third one will be assigned to sales or example etc. Now, how in an organization, let's say my HR people will be having across the globe, and I have application deployed in my one of the server within my company. If HR people wants to connect to my HR applications, so they will be sitting somewhere else in the world, correct? And they will connect to my applications. So all HR peoples are clients. My HR software, wherever I install, that's called my server. So all the clients are communicating to the servers like this. So this is called a client server communication. You can have multiple, or you maybe have, number of departments. And when it comes to an organization, you will be having a one particular server or maybe big hardware where you can buy, your company will buy, or where company will hire, or a company will take the lease, right? So like this, people can use their requirements. Depends on their requirement how they want to utilize it. That's called a client server architecture communication. Next one we called as a network layer. When you are buying a So when you are learning a SAP basis course, you have to know some layers, which is in network, right? Network layer should be aware of this. First one we called as a presentation layer, application layer, database layer. By seeing these three words, we also know that presentation layer, something like this, presenting something, application layer, something is application, database layer, something is database. When I say presentation layer, whatever you are seeing on your screen, that's called as a presentation layer. So what will happen? Obviously remember one thing, computer cannot understand our language. We cannot understand computer language. In this case, what we have to do is we have to use a mediator or interpreter or compilers. So where I can get those? Commonly I will get it in a operating system. So that's what we are using, a Windows operating system or multiple other operating system. When I use a Windows operating system, basic thing what operating system will do, it will convert whatever I am typing into a machine language, which is machine can understand whatever I am typing, and whatever output I am getting, that I am getting from the machine. So this operating system will convert whatever I understand, whatever machine can understand. So it will compile the data, it will send input and output like this. So the presentation layer, when it comes to a presentation layer, whatever we are seeing on the screen, that's called as a presentation layer. Application layer, whatever it will use for your application, right? Your business. So when you run your business logics, if you want to run some business logics, you have to use a application layer. So application layer is nothing but wherever you install a application server or application, that computer, it is under application layer. Now another one we called as a database layer. So okay, fine, we have a presentation layer, we have application layer, now we have a A database layer. What is this database layer? So in general terminology, everything if you want to store that you require a hard drive or hard disk. Now to store the data, you have to have the disk, correct? When it comes to application layer, when it comes to applications, application also will save the data. But what type of data I am saving here? So when you are saving data from application, when you are writing data from application to your disk, you need some structured data required, right? It's not unstructured data, but it is a structured data required. How you will get a structured data? For that, you have to have the database softwares. So wherever you install a database software, that software it we called as a database layer. So which is nothing but database layer. It will convert your data from unstructured to structured and put and keep your data on the disk with encrypted format. This is called presentation layer, application layer, database layer. So for SAP basis people, these three are very important. Where it will come a presentation layer, where it will come a application layer, where it will come a database layer. So everything we can learn. Now, all these three layers fall under architectures. What do you mean by architecture? It's nothing but a set of rules, set of governance, a set of structures, right? So when I say architecture in IT terminology or in a network terminology, we have three types of architectures. Of course, now they are also adding another one we call as entire architecture, which is I'll explain that one. So one tier architecture, which is R1. So why R1? SAP architecture, that's we called as R1. I will explain a little bit later. R is nothing but it's a real time architecture. So when you install your presentation layer, when you install your application layer, when you install your database layer, everything on single computer, that's come under R1 architecture. Repeating again, presentation layer, application layer, database layer installed on the same computer, which is your operating system, your application, your database. At this moment, you can only learn this one: presentation layer, application layer, database layer installed on the own computer. What is the advantages? Nothing. You no need to pay multiple multiple you don't need to have a multiple computers, multiple softwares. Nothing. You can only have one software, and you can only buy. You can only pay for that particular software, and you don't need to pay for other hardwares as well. Disadvantage: if something happened to my computer, that's it, gone. I cannot access any application on that. R2 architecture, so which is a real-time architecture too. So you have two layers. One can be a computer, presentation layer on one computer, application and database in another computer. Of course, you can have one presentation layer, one application layer in one computer, and database layer in one computer. But most of the time, R2, when it comes to R2, presentation always will be with a different computer, and then application plus database in a different computer. Now another one we call as a R3 architecture, where you are dividing all three layers in a three different format. Okay. So one is presentation layer, application layer, and then database layer. So presentation layer, you are using a different computer for one presentation layer. Application layer, you're using one computer for application layer. Database layer, using one computer for database layer. So you are dividing into three parts: presentation layer, application layer, database layer. Now another one also we have called as an entire architecture. So even though you are divided into three parts: presentation, application, database, when it comes under entire architecture, you're using a presentation layer. Application layer, you can have one or more computers. Database also, you can have one or more computers. So you are segregating or you are dividing into multiple parts within application and also within a database. That's called entire architecture. So today we are talking about presentation layer, application layer, database layer, R1, R2, R3 architectures, entire architecture. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe my channel.